What's going on, everybody? Back at it with another New York Giants video, and in this video I'm going to talk about the preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Giants winning by a final score of 25-22 here tonight. But before I get into that, folks, I want to talk about a lot of the stuff that happened throughout the course of the game. And of course, before I even touch upon that, our plugs for our social media handles you can see on our ticker below: Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. It is late at night here in Florida, where I'm currently vacationing over the summer, but the grind never stops, especially when there's a preseason game happening. It is time for another video. Also, we are presented by BetUS. You can sign up with our promo code below at Join125. Get a 125% sign-up bonus. Make sure to sign up with the link in the description below. It explains everything you need to know. Get a 125% sign-up bonus. You can bet on your mobile device, anywhere, anytime. That's America's #1 favorite sportsbook, BetUS, where the game begins. So, 25-22. Again, it wasn't often you saw the Giants score over 25 points last year, but I've got to tell you, tonight had some good and some bad. The game started with Daniel Jones looking pretty confident. He looked solid, went 14 of 16, threw for over 100 yards. He did have one interception that wasn't his fault. It went off the hands of rookie tight end Daniel Bellinger, the 4th-round pick out of San Diego State, who did have a couple catches in this game. This is one. It wasn't a perfect throw from Jones, but I definitely thought Bellinger should have been able to hold on to it. The real point that needs to be highlighted in the first half was the injury to Kayvon Thibodeaux. And now people will argue, you shouldn't be playing these guys this long during preseason, but when they're rookies like this, they need the reps, right? You don't want them to feel behind come week 1 and week 2, especially with such a young and new team. You want as many guys out there as possible. So Thibodeaux left the game with a scary knee injury in the first half. It was a chop block by tight end Thaddeus Moss, and a lot of people on social media did not take too kindly to Moss following this chop block. I do think it was a dirty play, in my opinion. Thibodeaux, again, he's going to have to know how to knee bend a little better during those types of scenarios, but he walked off under his own power. After the cart did come out, he refused to get on it. He went to the medical tent, and the rumor is that he will be okay. But do remember, folks, similar injury happened to Terrell Thomas many moons ago, former Giants corner who walked off under his own power after tearing an ACL. I don't think that's the injury that Thibodeaux suffered, but I do think his knee got a little banged up tonight. We'll see about the longevity, and hopefully Thibodeaux is okay, because we're going to need Kayvon Thibodeaux lined up across Azeez Ojulari this year. He was playing well in that first quarter before he left with an injury. He had a couple good pressures on Brandon Allen, who started the game for Cincinnati, and Kayvon wasn't the only player to leave with an injury tonight. Joining him was rookie linebacker Darian Beavers with another knee injury, kicker Graham Gano, who suffered a concussion, fielding a kickoff return, and CJ Board, who left with a rib injury on a kickoff return. So that led to Jamie Gillen having to handle extra points and kickoffs, and Julian Love filled in as the emergency holder. Now, another rookie also did leave for a brief moment. It was defensive tackle DJ Davidson, but he came back in. It was not a good night for injuries. A lot of people complaining about the turf at MetLife Stadium. It's been an issue for a very, very long time. I'm of the essence that natural grass is a much better playing surface for football players in the National Football League. I think that's the route the Giants should have always stuck with. But again, there's a lot of logistics and optics that go into that I'd rather not touch upon in this video. But it is what it is. The Giants players need to know how to adapt to playing on this football field. And, Giants got very unlucky tonight with the injury bug. Giants were already missing a handful of offensive linemen, about 5 or 6 guys out with injuries. Ben Bredesen, Jamil Douglas, Josh Azudu, Marcus McKeithen didn't play. So many guys out with injuries. And that's not even including Matt Pert and Nick Gates. But what did bode well for the Giants tonight was the play of their quarterbacks. Daniel Jones looked very confident in his passes, his checkdowns, his passes. He hit David Sills a few times, a couple good passes to Colin Johnson and Daniel Bellinger. Tyrod Taylor came in and looked good, went 7 of 11 for 37 yards. But, man, oh, man, 2017 draft pick Davis Webb was on fire tonight. He was basically the hero of this football game for Big Blue. 22 of 27 for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns, both of them to Alex Bachman. And I'm not surprised that Bachman had this good of a game. Remember, you're in there against third and fourth stringers at this point, and Bachman is a guy who's been on the Giants since 2019. He's been cut often and then re-signed to the practice squad. But Bachman wants to show this new coaching staff and regime that, hey, I have good chemistry with my teammates here. I want to make a name for myself on this receiving core. Now, Bachman did enter the game pretty late, but he finished with 11 catches for 122 yards and 2 scores, the game-winning score as well. Both of these touchdown receptions came in the fourth quarter, and he did have 1 special teams tackle. CJ Board leaving with an injury, as much as that sucks, it presents itself an opportunity for Bachman to say, hey, I can contribute on special teams as well, because when you're at the back end of the roster as a receiver, that's more than likely where you're going to make your name as an NFL player on special teams. David Sills, 5 catches, 56 yards. I thought Antonio Williams looked great, trying to make a name to be the second running back behind Saquon Barkley. Colin Johnson had a few nice catches as well. Deshaun Corbin was pretty good at the running back position. Now, I don't think he'll make the team, but with the injury to Gary Brightwell, you don't know. The running back 3 spot could be open behind Barkley and Williams if Brightwell's injury is long-term. Corbin did have 1 touchdown rush in this game. And back to the Bachman point, I'm not saying he's better than Richie James. That's not what I'm saying, right? Because Richie James, he didn't do much tonight, but he did have a touchdown in the New England game last week, let's note. So I'm not saying Bachman jumps over Richie James or CJ Board, but I think the CJ Board injury, if that's a serious issue, it presents an opportunity for somebody like Alex Bachman. If he plays well again next week, you have to at least consider it, because this guy ran some excellent routes as well. And I also do think David Sills is ahead of Alex Bachman. So Bachman does have a huge battle to climb, but Bachman could be auditioning for another football team. Another football team could need a wide receiver. I know the Giants have some injuries to Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney specifically. I think Toney will be ready for the regular season. Shepard won't. I think the Giants should cut Darius Slayton. I really do. I don't know where he was tonight. In order for the Giants to move with a healthy amount of money during the season to be able to make moves and, manage their cap situation accordingly, I think Darius Slayton would be a good cut come cut down day. He saved $2.5 million. He hasn't done all that much since his rookie season. And with a new scheme, you've drafted wide receivers the last 2 years early in the first and second rounds, respectively. You brought in Kenny Galladay, right? They've been targeting Colin Johnson and David Sills a lot in preseason. You signed Richie James. I think the writing might be on the wall for Darius Slayton. I barely saw him out there, if at all, tonight. Another good thing, though, the offensive line. Good protection overall, especially by that first unit. We saw Andrew Thomas get a little bit of playing time. Devery Hamilton started at left guard for the injured Shane Lemieux. Max Garcia started at center for the injured John Feliciano. They really had no other options. The only other healthy lineman, honestly, that was there from training camp was Will Holden. Speaking of Will Holden, he also got some reps at center tonight, had 1 really bad snap. Center is not his position. If he's going to make this roster, it'll be as a swing tackle and nothing else. I didn't see much from Roy Mbedeka tonight, the international prospect. But yeah, overall, the offensive line was okay. It's just the injuries that are concerning. Remember, the Giants did have limited bodies, and they only gave up 1 sack as a team. Defensively, Micah McFadden stood out, had 5 tackles. Tate Crowder had a solid first half, 4 stops, 1 in the backfield. Khalil Dorsey had a nice sack off a corner blitz. And a couple guys that flied under the radar, a couple UDFAs, Ryder Anderson and Tomon Fox specifically. Ryder Anderson had 2 tackles and a tackle for loss, but I think Tomon Fox has a shot because we don't know the severity of Kayvon Thibodeaux's injury. If this is going to keep him out into the regular season, again, he could be fine and play next week. Who knows? But if he doesn't, Tomon Fox, again, I think O'Shane Ximines is on the bubble. A lot of people don't think he is. I think he might get cut. In fact, I do think he's going to get cut. Because after Thibodeaux, you're looking at Ojulari, Ellerson Smith, and Quincy Roche. That's 4. Now, Cam Brown is listed as an inside linebacker right now. And Jihad Ward is listed as a down lineman. That leaves 1 more spot for an edge rusher. Thibodeau's not healthy. It could go to Tomon Fox. I don't think Ximines will get that spot, in my personal opinion, even though Ximines is still listed above some of these rookies and younger players. But who knows what's going to happen. Tomon Fox did have a QB hit and a forced fumble on the final defensive play of the game that gave the Giants the football back. So forcing a turnover, rushing the passer, getting a nice hit. Quincy Roche had a solid game. I thought he defended the run game very well. We all know he's a good pass rusher. A lot of people thought he was a great addition for the Giants last year, claiming him off waivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And some team stats, 3rd down was great. Giants were 9 of 16, 423 total yards of offense. I thought that was outstanding. Of course, there's some stuff to clean up. 7 penalties, 2 turnovers. Again, the first one was Daniel Bellinger's fault, and then the second one, Board got lit up. So can't really ponder too much on that, but I think tonight you got to look at the quarterback play as being great. The wide receivers were fantastic. I thought Antonio Williams, really good pass catching back, 7 receptions in the backfield. Quincy Roche and Tomon Fox vying for roster spots. It was very unfortunate that CJ Board did get injured. Richie James, while I still think he's ahead of guys like David Sills and Alex Bachman, I mean, I'm not surprised Sills and Bachman could potentially give James a run for his money. Both of them have been on the Giants since 2019. Richie James was just signed this season. They have the chemistry with Daniel Jones. They have Bachman more than Sills' special teams ability. Bachman also returns punts and kicks late in these preseason games. The corner play was not great tonight. Robinson is still a concern, although he made a couple good plays. Darren Evans and Elijah Griffin, I hope, are both cut very soon. They did not look good. Elijah Griffin, they just signed this week. Speaking of cuts, the Giants need to cut 5 players by the end of Tuesday to get the roster down to 80 before the final cut down day. My prediction for the 5 players that are going to be cut, going with Elijah Griffin, who they just signed. I'm also going with Darren Evans, so 2 defensive backs. Marcus Kemp, wide receiver, didn't do too much tonight. He caught a nice pass on that last drive, but I think you're trying to weed out your receiving room come that 3rd preseason game with Board being hurt. It could buy Kemp a little bit more time. I also think Keelan Doss is in trouble, but I don't think he'll be cut just yet. He did have a couple nice plays, and I do think he may have earned himself some more time than Marcus Kemp. Offensive tackle Eric Smith brought him on late. Was not impressed by him at all tonight. And David Moa. I like Moa, but you're looking at the Giants' defensive line, right? You have Dexter Lawrence and Leo as your big 2 hogs. Justin Ellis is healthy again, which is great news. You have Jihad Ward. You signed Nick Williams, who has more experience in playing time and starts than David Moa. I don't see David Moa sticking around much longer. So those are the 5 guys that I would cut. The one I'm most skeptical about is David Moa. I don't know if he'll get cut just yet, but I just threw him in there for the sake of positional value. I didn't want to cut too many defensive backs, and I didn't want to cut more than one receiver. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, folks. And again, I appreciate everybody watching this video. The New York Giants are now 2-0 in the preseason, with their final preseason game coming up against the New York Jets next week. And if you want to subscribe to our content, you can check us out below on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. Appreciate all the support and everybody for watching this video. Without further ado, let's go Big Blue.